No laughing.
No laughing.
No.
No laughing, Raymond.
Oh, good luck with that.
I know that would be hard to put you on a no laughing rule, Sid. That's gonna be. I don't know what you're gonna do if you go to a silent retreat. I don't know what you're gonna do. Like your head's gonna explode.
Oh my. Oh. Wow.
Wow, community gathered here. This is beautiful.
Community.
Yeah.
Angie Starr, hi, welcome.
Thank you.
What brings Angie Starr here today?
Mm. What brings me is that I've been to one of these before and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it.
Ooh.
And just from that one meeting, it like I caught something that I've carried into my practice, and it's amazing. Yeah.
What would Angie Starr like from today as you look around? We can't see all the faces yet, but they're all of us that are here with you today. What would Angie like from this time on this Sunday?
It's funny. Angie feels like she can't take that invitation because that's exactly what you gave me the last time I came, was kind of like I get to choose, like me. And I'm like, no, no, no. I had my turn. And I'm just noticing that part of me that doesn't want to accept the invitation. Feels like I'm
Yeah.
taking too much. But I'm going to go ahead and take it. What would Angie like? I just want to feel that again. I just want to. I just want to feel that space that I felt the last time I was here. That's it.
Mm. Mm.
Sense of this space for you. Is it openness, connectedness, love, flow, ease? What's your word for it, Angie?
Um, it's this isn't my word. It's Rumi's words about the that place beyond right doing and wrong doing, beyond judgment, beyond that place beyond. Um, yeah, that space of being able to be finding the okay when things aren't okay. Yeah.
Finding the okay when things aren't okay. Rumi describes as this, right? This field beyond wrongdoing and right doing. Welcome.
Thank you.
This is awesome. I have closed the room and it gets to be us today. And we'll see Ray's face in just a moment. He's just arriving home because you don't want to miss Ray's face.
Mm.
So Angie speaks of this okayness that's here, even in the midst of, I don't like what's here. I don't like it. I want it to be different. Even in the midst of that, an okayness, a a field that Rumi calls it, this place beyond right doing and wrong doing, where there's just okayness. I'll meet you there. For each of us, what's our flavor of of this right now? It's the flavor of self for you. For Angie, it's okayness. What's your word? Is it stillness? Is it peace? Is it vibrancy? Is it connectedness? Tenderness, love, flow, ease. What's your word? What's your word? This is be like, what do you mean one word, Sid? I've got 5 words, or I don't even have a word. There are no words for this. Or, hey, I'm not here yet. I got this part that's thinking about what I want to be doing today or something, and I can't even find it. What might your word be? Let's go around real quick and just hear a word from everyone. What would your word be? Katya, what you got?
Connectedness is happiness. Two
Thank
words.
you. Thank you. Thank you, Katya. Ray, what's your word?
Ocean of love.
Ocean of love. Thank you. Rachila, what's your word?
Joy.
Joy. Jessica.
I'm gonna go with peace this morning.
Peace. Thank you. Raymond from Scotland, what's your word?
Uninhibited.
Uninhibited. Thank you. We have Angie's as okay and Zoe. Zoe, what's your word today?
Um, it's endlessly whole.
Endlessly whole. Thank you.
Wholeness. Mm.
What's it like as we hear almost like these different keys on the piano of beingness of self? As we hear Zoe say, endlessly whole, wholeness, most like that's here for you. Wholeness. And can wholeness be here even in the midst of, oh man, I screwed up, or the hurricane in the United States just like destroyed some of my house, or I'm still tired. Can it, can that wholeness still be here in the midst of the difficulties? Raymond's uninhibited. How does that translate for you? Uninhibited. Some people use the word like freedom, flow, ease, expression, uninhibited. And when I say that, do thoughts come up? Do parts come up saying, oh, that's a good idea, but that's not here, or that's blocked, or an understanding part that tries to make sense of it? Uninhibited. And then Jessica's key, her key, peace, peace. What's most like peace that's here now? And maybe you have a different word. Maybe your word is more like calmness, stillness. What's most like peace that's here? And then when does it become difficult to know this peace? What happens? How much, how many parts can we hear? How loud can the mind be and peace still be here? And Rachila's joy, joy. Sometimes those people on YouTube will describe it as a quiet joy, as the very nature of our being. What's most like joy that's here? Causeless joy. Do you have to do anything for joy to be here? And what's it like? How do you know that joy is here? How do you know it? Is it is it somatic? Do you feel like a little bubbling inside? How do you know joy? And can it really be? Can it really be like an aspect of our nature, our natural condition, joy? That it doesn't, we don't need to like have a happy thing happen in the world. There could just be joy here. Then Katya took that joy and she said, like, connection, happiness.
I feel I don't need anything else, really. I have been working on it. If I have the self with me, I don't need anything else or anybody else. And this is very important to me because I have felt lonely because of some stuff. So I feel joy because I don't feel lonely anymore. I ask, I receive.
How about that? How about what Katya just shared? Could this truly be independent of experience? This not feeling lonely, this sense of a joy, regardless of what's happening. Your friends say, I really don't like you, Sid. My friends say that. You're just obnoxious. Is there still okayness here? Could there still be joy, even in the midst of experiences like that? And Katya's other word was connectedness. Is connectedness dependent on experience? The connectedness with the tree outside your home, just for all of us. What's connectedness? Yeah, just as Katya is nodding to. It's like this. Is it possible that this is truly independent of experience, this self, this beingness?
I found out today I cannot be moved by other people. I mean, the self cannot be moved by what other people do all the time. I am centered and connected to the self.
Beautiful. When we hear that from Katya, how does your system resonate with that? Centered and connected with or as the self. This is in EIFS we call the self-leadership. It's just a sense of abiding as self, like we've become so intimate as it. We know it's gotten known in our system. And do you have parts that come up when you hear Katya say that? It's like, yeah, right, sure. Like, let's talk about the real world when these things happen. You have parts that are just like that speak that's very real for them. It's like, nah, nah. And then other parts, that's like, of course, we know self is the background, it's the sky, it's the beingness, it's the nature of what we are. These things they say on YouTube, like I know that. Other parts that know it. And then Ray describes this as the ocean of love. Ocean of love. How does that resonate in your system? What's your flavor of that? What's most like the ocean of love that's here for you? And where does the love come from? This ocean of love? Is it dependent on, oh, I'm with my beloved. Oh, I'm with my dog, my friend. Oh, I'm in a retreat. I'm in a community or this ocean of love. Or is it independent, just like what Katya is speaking of? It's just here and it's always here. It's a sense of home. So as we begin today, as we begin today, I start to use the word game in the description of this exploration since Angie was here last and since Zoe was here last. And a game, as in, we often speak of this, that while we meet, while we welcome our parts, as we sink in and celebrate our being, can we notice that there's nothing really wrong, there's nothing missing, the sense of just the beauty of what is as we notice ourselves, like we're going to play a game. Like it's not like, oh, if I win this game or if I lose this game or if I do really well on it, we're just playing. Ultimately, we look in the screen and we see our faces and it's like, there it is, there's nothing missing here. So we play with the possibility of that assumption that there's nothing missing, nothing needs to change. And then we play together and we celebrate and we have a birthday party for each of us, for each of our parts, for everything that's arising, for the flavor of self that's here, and for all of our parts. Everything gets to be welcomed. And as we dive in together, we notice that nothing Jessica, Angie, Zoe, Raymond, Sid can say. Oh, there's our friend. Oh, wow, outside with nature. Oh, my. Nothing Ray can say, no parts, no sense of, oh, I need to do something differently. Stress, anything that arises is foreign to us. And as we open together, and as we are here now, I've just got to open it up for us, but just as I ask you, how are you? How are each of us? Katya, Ray, Raymond, Jessica, Richila, Angie, Sid, and Zoe. What arises? That Ray's like, oh, finally, I can just relax in the grass. Oh, this is good. A part that's really enjoying this. What parts are here for you? How are you? What parts are here? Oh gosh, when is Sid gonna stop talking? Come on, I have something I want to say. Like, what's here? Or like, my back hurts. Or wow, it's so nice to see Richila. I haven't seen her in a long time. It's like, what's, what parts, what thoughts, what voices arise for you?
Fun, happiness.
Hmm. Yeah, we notice these, the parts, and even we welcome them all, even the lack. Like, God, I'm not really into this today, or I'm still a little tired. Just it's early for Jessica. Like whatever parts are there, we welcome them all. And then what are they arising in for you? And can it be like a hot tub or a roomie's guest house or a birthday party as we're aware of our parts? Let's see if we all can be aware of like two or more here, two or more of these arisings, two or more that are here for you. And then what are they arising in or of, that they're all of this beingness, this self, or what are they arising in? What's the flavor, like this peace, this uninhibited, this endlessly wholeness, this joy, this okayness, this happiness, this connectedness? What are they arising in? What's here? Like Katya's, oh, I really like my hair. What's arising and what's it arising in? And I'd like to invite us all to see if we can be in that. See if our parts, whatever's arising, can soak in this beingness, soak in these qualities like a hot tub or just like this love and welcoming. And for like 30 seconds, I'll just do my housekeeping. Just notice the voices, the parts that are arising, the thoughts, and what they're arising in. Is there a sense of being welcomed? Are they being welcomed? Are they appreciated? Are they loved just the way they are? What's that like? And as you all know, I'm a mediator, I'm not a psychotherapist. And so in this game today, like to see if everyone is good, just being responsible for themselves and what goes on. You can welcome to leave at any time. Everyone's good with that. Can I get a thumbs up, please? Awesome. And then secondly, I've got the recording on. I always record these and sometimes I share them on my website for people that aren't able to come or in other places electronically, but only my image is ever shared, not yours. However, if there's ever a point where you're not wanting to have what you're saying recorded, just let me know and I'll make you a co-host and you can click pause. Or at the end, you're like, I didn't like that, just let me know and I can delete it. I prefer the co-host option. If everybody's good with this, could I get a thumbs up, please? Nice. So what's here? What's bubbling? How is life moving in you today? How is your precious parts? What's coming up? Is there any resistance? What's here? How what's happening and what's it arising? And who would like to go first? What's going on? Ray! Ray's going. We don't have Ray for very long today. He goes dancing in the mornings on Sundays, and so we don't have him. So Ray, hey Ray.
I love you, Sid. You're so adorable. Oh man. Uh right here, there's yeah, I'm really loving Rachila's word joy. which I've just learned the original meaning of is like it's not just happiness, it actually spans all of the emotions, but it's just really intense emotion. And it's kind of like a non-dual meaning of joy, which that I learned last week, and I love that. Um, and so feeling like a lot of like openness and intensity, and into the intensity being like contracted or really like intensely vibrating openness, um, all made of the same thing. And it's like it's the intensity is kind of turning up and then turning down and fading into the surroundings. So there's yeah, just yeah, it's kind of like an ocean, like cresting here, cresting over there, and then
Ray,
fading
let me
into
ask everybody
nothing.
something. Let me ask everybody this intensity, this vibration, this joy Ray's speaking of, this ocean that's cresting, this aliveness, this fullness of being. Can we feel it in Ray? Can we feel the resonance like a tuning fork? What's that like in us? We don't want to miss this. I mean, this joy, this non-dual joy that just kind of includes everything, this openness, this intensity of aliveness, of fullness of being. What's your version of it for each of us? What's the flavor? What's that like in you, these words? And maybe there's a part that comes up. It's like, I can't find any of that right now. I just can't. I'm still waking up. And just we just notice that and welcome that. We don't want to. And then Ray, by the way, with my friend Ray here, if anybody, hey Raymond, if you have a flight, if you want to fly into Nashville, Ray and I are doing a 5 hour workshop on the intersection of IFS and non-duality on Saturday. And so it's just it's with our friend Ray talking about this aliveness. What else you got, Ray?
The coolest thing about it, Sid, is that you are part of this ocean. And I hear your voice coming from the ocean reflecting back what I said, and I'm just like, oh, this is cool. The ocean reflecting itself back to itself is just freaking amazing. And it just like makes me giggle. It's so fucking hilarious.
How about that
I wonder,
reflection for all of us, with all of us, like Ray's hearing it in my voice? Can we find it as we look at the seven squares that are with us today, the seven of us who are with us as Ray? Do we see that, the reflection of this ocean, of this beingness? What else you got, Ray?
hmm, I think that took it home, man. The looking at everyone and just seeing the ocean reflecting itself back to itself is just that's next level. I can't go any deeper than that, man. That's just blowing my mind.
Yay, mind blown. And what's there? Can we relate to Ray says mind blown? We've had our minds blown. What's here when the mind is blown, everyone? What do you find? What's here? And this sense of reflecting the ocean back as we reflect it back in each of what's that like? What's it like being in that reflection, being in this ocean? Hmm. Hmm. Anything bubbling with what Ray said before we go with what's next? Anything bubbling that anyone wants to share that comes up for you with where Ray just took us?
I would like to see the ocean and the waves move. The ones that like where you are behind you. It would be
Oh,
nice to see the flow.
oh, like see the background?
Yes.
Mm,
Hmm.
here we go.
What's our experience as we see the background of Ray's home and this openness, this
Beautiful.
nature? Do we this nature that we see, this beauty that we see, is it something that we're both aware of it, but is there even more intimacy with it? I mean, why do we love nature? Because it does, can we find that perhaps we're not even separate from this nature, from this yard, from this grass that Ray is lounging in, and the trees in the sky? Some folks say nature. Oh, that's a quality of this being, this nature. I am.
Nature.
Hmm. Any other comments with what Ray and Katya just shared before we go to who's next?
The thing, infinite expanding radiance. I got a visual of the sun shining on the ocean.
Infinite, expanded radiance. Do we see that? Sorry.
Expanding.
Expanding.
Infinitely expanding.
What you got, Ray?
I think partially stimulated by what Ruchila said, just feeling this ocean, wanting to touch everyone, wanting to love everyone, wanting to soothe like the suffering, like just so wanting to meld with everyone and be with everyone and be with everything, every single part that needs to be felt, and like welcoming of all of the stuff that's in it. Like, yeah, that feels like part of the joy for me.
Where does that touch us? What Ray just described, this ocean that just welcomes, loves, embraces. Where do we find it? Is it like in your belly? Is it like the space behind you? Where do we find the sense of this ocean that just welcomes everything? Anything else coming up with what Ray and Katya just shared before we go? Anything else here that would like to be shared? Anything bubbling? And what Rachila shared, this infinitely expanding radiance. Anything bubbling?
This thing, even in the chaos of the aftermath of the hurricanes and other things like that. You need to see it and feel it there.
That. How about that for all of us? An infinitely expanding radius. Maybe it's easy when we're like hanging out with Ray on the grass or with Katya's background. Maybe it's easy to find the infinitely expanding radiance. But what about when things go bad, when it's like not what we want? When a hurricane comes in the US, when people we love are sick, when our body's not feeling well. What about that infinitely expanding radiance, even then? Anything else bubbling, guys, about all of this before we go on? Raymond!
Yeah, when Ray was speaking there, and his expression of love, and the sense I got from what Ray said was like the kind of the bodhisattva or the bodhicitta, the person that goes around and loves. And I actually thought about a couple of things, two things that Jesus said actually. One was, it's not the healthy that need a doctor. And the second one was that, because that's what I'm doing in this. I've got you all in gallery view. I'm sure you're the same yourself, right? Right. And what I noticed is, and Ray highlighted that for me, and also it was highlighted at the beginning, Sid, where my sense of self is it's always looking for the one that needs help, the one that's hurting, the one that's, and I loved what I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, Kalia, said about, when you're in that, I say when you are in that, there is no you in that, when you're in that space where it's just full of self and there's no parts arising. So the I thought isn't rising up. Everything's just still. There's nothing moving. So whenever I enter into these spaces with people, I'm almost feeling my way around in the dark for someone that needs love. And so that self in me, like Kalia said, is not really looking to get anything. It's looking to give something. So so for me, true love is always wanting to give you something, always, never wants to take anything from the human aspect. It always wants to give, always in giving mode. So yeah, I said quite a lot there, I think, Sid.
I
I'll
love
leave it
it.
there.
Oh, so let's see what occurred for each of us. What occurred for the seven of us as, wait, I'll come right to you, Angie. I just want to check this first with everybody. What occurred for you as Raymond was sharing? What was the response inside of you? Was it this just like this hot tub or this roomie's guest house, just welcoming him and loving him? It was just the love that just welcomes. It was just in awe. Oh, Raymond, what's he gonna say next? Where's he? Oh, wow, just appreciating and enjoying. And also, were there parts that came up? Can we notice that? Can we notice what happens inside of you? Was it just this love and welcoming? And were there also parts like, oh wow, let me see if I can understand what he's saying with this bodhisattva, bodhicitta, like what he was saying. Can I follow that? And other parts that might be comparing, like, wow, I I don't do just what Raymond says. It comes up differently in me, and maybe a contrast, maybe a little critic. And can we just notice the parts that came up in us as Raymond was sharing? And can they all be welcomed? Can there be an enjoyment of, wow, I had a comparison part come up. How cool. Or I had a should part, like, wow, something should be different in me. Like, just to notice. Or I had a part that says, wow, but I'm hungry. When's lunch? And it's just all of these parts, just to notice what came. This is the game we're playing. This is how each of us are helping bring each of us home as we play together, as we explore together. And as Raymond spoke of any bodhisattva, the inner bodhisattva, this it just welcomes everything, it just loves everything, and any part that's still contracted or in pain or having difficulty, it's just welcomed. And we find that not as something we do, but as something we be, as the very nature of this beingness. Ray's like, I think that's like his DC's figure is like, yes, yes, I know that one. It's like, can you find that? This it just welcomes and loves. And I love this. The founder of IFS, Dick Schwartz, he says IFS is like an inner bodhisattva path. What they do on the outside, we do on the inside. And it's just, why would you ever leave a part that's in pain? It just, the system doesn't do that. It just loves. Just like if you see a kid crying on the street, it's really hard just to walk by, right? Of course you stop. Same thing inside. And we're about to hear what Angie has to say. But before we go, because this is all a lot, let me just ask us all again, how are you? Just to notice what's here. We're just playing together. We're not going anywhere. There's nothing we need to achieve. We don't need to all be like it, we don't need to all be realized bodhisattvas in the next hour. We're just playing together. We're just playing and just notice what's here, the parts and what they're arising in. And is it okay to use Katya's word? Is it okay what's arising in us? Is it okay if there's a little anxiousness or like, oh, I have something I want to say or I'm bored? Is whatever's here, is it okay? And then aren't you curious? Did you see Angie raise her hand a little while? Like she had something bubbling. Can you find the curiosity? Like, what's Angie got? What's she gonna bring? What does she have to say? Ready? Okay, Angie, what you got?
As far as how am I? I'm just noticing what's been coming up with looking at everyone and listening, and I was noticing the comparison really coming up with Katya of why can't I be more in joy like that? The comparison, but then it was just interesting that with Ray laying in the grass, I could just feel some of his joy. And it was just this kind of like the comparison soup was there, but I could feel that like, oh no, there's part of me, or what that is, can feel his, but then the part of me that was comparing. And that was just interesting to me that I could be in both places. And I'm just noticing that that there is something that Ray is sending, that like every time I look, I just want to sob. And I'm just noticing that. And yeah, that's what's going on with me.
Oh, a question for all of us. It's just that, oh, Ray did his thing again. Is this just Angie? Or is what she's speaking of? We all know this, right? The sense of, wow, there's joy here, there's okayness. Oh, wait a minute. There's this comparison. I'm not so happy. I'm contracted. Oh, and then there's joy, the both. Can we all find that? Can we all find like what Angie's sharing, like that how that lives in us? And then as Angie shared, what was that like for you? What was that like for each of us? Just as Angie was describing what she gets from Ray, were we not getting that from Angie? Were you not touched, resonated? Just the love that what was it like? What was it like?
I was
Enjoy. Let me just say one more. Could you enjoy? Did you, I don't want anybody to miss this. Like, was there an enjoyment of Angie? Was there enjoyment of that, the preciousness from which she was sharing, the joy that she's touched, what she was experiencing in Ray, and then the contraction that came with some comparison? Could we, could we enjoy all of that, the beauty of that in her? What you got, Katya?
I would like to be in Ray's house and enjoy the house. And I am thinking I am going into the different rooms he seems to have and just be like, oh, curious and happy and looking at that. And then running around his grass. That's what I would like to.
Yes,
And the other
yes,
part would like to be sitting in the house of Angie's house and sharing with her how she's feeling.
yeah.
Mm, mm.
So what about that? Oh, for all of us. And notice if there's a preference. If there's a preference for Ray's house to Angie's house. Let's just see if notice that. And so see if we can find the part that has that preference. Yes, it's more relief because Ray, whatever he represents right now for you in his house, where Angie's got this comparison part, and oh, I don't want to be around the comparison, but if there's any preference, just to notice that. And then can we love it? Can we love that part of us that just life can be so hard and I just want some peace. I want some peace. I want some joy. I want some ease. And then can we enjoy? Can we be intimate with Angie's comparison part? This is the advanced stuff. Like, can we really enjoy her comparison part that feels uncomfortable, that wants something different than what is? Can we fully welcome that? Can we fully welcome it? Can we see the innocence of it? And as I don't want to kind of leave Angie out here by herself, this comparison part she's speaking of, can we find our version of it? The one that compares, that I'd like something to be different. I'd like, and Sid is like, oh, I want to be more that bodhisattva that Raymond's speaking of, or I want to be more that spaciousness of the that Ray's speaking of, or it's like, can we find the comparison within us? Or Katya's, it's independent, Sid. It doesn't get taken away by people anymore. This okay calls us okayness. Can we find the comparison part within us? And can we see the innocence of it? Can we see the innocence of it? Like, what's it longing for? The innocence of this comparison part that might be, it's like, hey, I can help. I can help. I can have it be more like this and less like this. Can we see the beauty of that part of us, that voice? And what is it longing for? Your comparison part, what's really being longed for? Is it longing for peace, okayness, flow, ease? What's it longing for? Like, can we celebrate that? And how intimate can you be with the comparison part inside of you? And this is where it might be easier to be with Angie's than yours, because sometimes it gets scary to be intimate with our parts inside like this. How intimate can we be with Angie's comparison part or with our own comparison part? How's it going, Angie?
I'm doing okay, thanks.
Mm, yeah. What's it like to have a comparison part here? And I don't want to put you on the spot. You don't need to. You can pass on any of this. I just want because you've just kind of led us in such a beautiful place. Anything you'd like to share about it?
Yeah, I don't know what the words are. But
Mm,
yeah, like yeah, it's good to yeah, it's good to be with everyone else's comparison parts. That it feels good.
yeah,
And to welcome
yeah,
it a little more and to try to be curious about the longing.
yeah. Nice. Thank you. And then lastly, for all of us, is it okay that the comparison part's here? Is it okay that it's here? If it's is it okay if it's really loud? If it's like you can't even see Ray's yard or the sky, the comparison's part so big. You can't even see the sky above Katya. The comparison part's so big. When it comes, like we all know this, we all know this. It is that can we find okayness with it that it's here? This okayness that Katya was speaking of, this welcoming. Is it okay that it's here? Okay, then I like my system likes to shake it off a little bit because we're just playing around together. We're just like, kids in the backyard after school. And it's just shake it off, shake it off. And like here we are. Here we are. Here we are. Hey, what's next? Here we are. It's just like, can you like nothing needs to change, nothing needs to happen. Here we are. We're just playing. Wow, we're the Katya, Ray, Sid, and Raymond, and Jessica's here, Rachila's here, and Angie's here, and Zoe's here. Wow. And what happens when that happens for you? For some of us, there's a sense of it kind of sinks back into self a little bit. It kind of zooms out. It finds a little sense of okayness, flow, play. It unblends a little bit. Does that work in your system? And if not, what helps, what supports you to get to rest, get a little break, to rest a little bit in self? See? How are we doing? Anything bubbling from what Angie was sharing that would like to be shared before we see who wants to go next?
Yeah, I'd like to just express my real gratitude to you, Angie, because there's the kind of refrain that I keep hearing over and over and over and over again is, this is here, that's not okay, and is it okay for this part to be here? And when I was watching you, Angie, you just embodied that. You embodied that then, because I heard you speak equally for both parts, for the joy and the joy that's there, but then also speaking from that comparison part as well. And I watched you holding the two equally and very, very tenderly. And giving voice to both of those, the joy and comparison, and that was just really, really moving and really soothing for my system as for me that's the kind of heart of the game is holding things that in myself that on the surface appear contradictory or appear difficult, and holding them being able to hold those amongst the beingness, the joy that was so kind of radiant from Ray and others at the beginning. So thank you Angie, for embodying that so clearly. Thank you.
What was that like where Zoe just shared? What was that like to be with that? What's that like for all of us? And she says, this that is here, that's not okay. Is it okay for this part to be here? This query that she's been in her system. And we all find that. Is it okay for this to be here? And then as Zoe's appreciating Angie's system, the way Angie was able to do both the okayness, the beingness, and fully honoring and celebrating, and welcoming the part. Do any of us are like, gosh, I wish I could go, like we talk about going to like Ray's house and Angie's house. Like, I wish I could go into Angie's world. You have parts that would love to be honored the way Angie just honored her part. About her comparison part, the way she honored that. Do you have parts like that? That really like when just what Zoe was saying, the way Angie honored her part, like that was really great. Do you have parts that would like to be seen, heard, understood, and met that way? Anything else bubbling?
I have a thing. And yeah, I know I've spoken a lot so far. I do have to, I'm gonna leave soon, so hopefully I'm not taking up too much space. Yes, I guess with the last conversation, bringing up the comparison part in me, sometimes when there's a part where there's difficulty or resistance, I ask the part, do you love me? And the comparison part's like, fuck yes, I love the hell out of you. That's why I'm doing this. And so I get to, when that happens, when I get that the part really loves me and loves my being and loves like, it's just like, oh, like, sweetheart, I love you too. So I just wanted to reveal that in case it feels helpful to other people's systems as well.
This, do you love me? The part says, I love the hell out of you. That's why I'm doing this. And this goes to like, Dick Schwartz again, the premise in all this work is that there are no bad parts. Oh, everything that arises us is there to serve us. And in Ray's system, I love the hell out of you. That's why I'm doing this. Can we hear that in our parts, in our comparison parts, in our critic parts, in our pusher parts? And then maybe the celebration of it, like Raymond started us off in such a beautiful place and talking about the Bodhisattva, the place of, it's just that the heart is drawn to these parts, the way the heart is drawn to them to appreciate these aspects of us. Raymond, you got something?
Yeah. So what rises for me a little bit, and it probably speaks to that word uninhibited. So I like my own honesty, which is everything that everyone else is speaking about in terms of parts, whether it's comparative or hurting or whatever. I experience every single one of those things often. The difference today, not just this day, but where I'm at, probably having felt a lot of the type of feelings that Angie's embodying at the moment, is for me, a million parts can appear at the one time. The difference today is I don't identify as those parts. And that doesn't mean that I've not lived with identifying as parts. It just means that, like all these other sages or whoever we listen to as teachers, they'll say the same thing. They'll say that they don't experience the world or humanity any different than we do. It's just their identification that's different. And I suppose that's what I'm saying. So my honesty would say, I experience everything, all sorts of shit, right? And all sorts of great stuff. But I don't follow those things anymore. I don't follow them. Yeah, I'll leave it there, Sid. So my honesty wants to say that, yeah, I don't sense myself humanly as any better or any worse than anyone else. But I also see the same self in me and everybody else, whether they can see it or not. There's no difference. I'm not, there's, for me, I'm saying it like this, there's no special person. Everyone in their essence is just beautiful. And that when the person's not there, that's when suffering stops.
Yeah. Thank you, Raymond. Oh, let's just be with this for a minute, what Raymond just shared, or how your version of it, like these are Raymond's words. This is uninhibited Raymond sharing how this lives in us and lives in him. But when he speaks of, the one thing that's really changed is I still got the million parts, all these expressions. Absolutely nothing that's been said here is foreign to him, right? It's all here. Yet what has shifted is it doesn't so much follow the parts like it used to. It doesn't, in IFS, we call it blending. It doesn't identify like the system, and we call it self-leadership in IFS. There's the sense of self has become more stabilized, a sense of ever-presence. And so we're hearing kind of like way down the road what it looks like in Raymond's system, right? And it's wonderful to have a glimpse like this when Raymond appears and speaks from this. And then, but it's the same in all of us. This is what Angie was demonstrating for us. That's what Zoe was celebrating in Angie, the both. It's like the dear humanity of the contracted part of the comparison part. And then it blends, it identifies some with it. And then it kind of shifts back to this okayness, and then it blends. But then this is the game we're playing. We're just celebrating all of this, the way it goes. What's it like in you? For some of us, it's more like it just, Katya was describing the same thing in Raymond, the way this is opening in her system, this like independence. Wow, it's here, even in the midst of all of these things. And Rachila was pointing to it too. Like in the States, we just had these big hurricanes, and it's like in the midst of those, wow, even in the midst of that, there's still some of this okayness. But in effortless IFS, there are other ways that we play with this and celebrate. Because I say we're throwing a birthday party for your parts, and so there's no need to we're including what's open for Raymond and Katya in this clear discernment, but we're also going the complete opposite direction. And hey, we just want to celebrate the parts. And the crazy thing happens in celebrating them. It's like in loving them and welcoming them and enjoying them, right? We start to see the beauty of the parts. We start to see the beauty. And in that, this word Rachila was saying, this radiance, like the radiance starts shining through the parts. And some of us, we can just stay at the roomie's guest house, and we're just welcoming and loving them, welcoming all of our parts just as they're coming. And we can find an okayness with what's here. And so it all takes us kind of to the same place, which is this self. We just find it in each of us. It comes in different ways. Everything leads us home. How are we doing? Jessica, I've seen some nods. Is there anything that wants to be shared by you with this? Because I always want to include Jessica's because she's there's such an adoration of her parts and enjoyment of the part side of this. I don't want to override any of that.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny that you just asked me, because I was feeling a lot like, oh my gosh, I feel like I need to speak, but I also feel like I don't know what I'm talking about. So I have been from the beginning, sitting with this sense of what is truly okay has space for what is not okay. Just naturally, without effort, if it's what is truly okay welcomes what is not okay. And then just now, and I feel like I've kind of been hearing that because that's what I've been focused on throughout. Like I've been hearing people say versions of that. And when Raymond was just now speaking, well, so then the other thing, I have this like kind of troublemaker part, not really troublemaker, but so I had this thought, what if one day you asked for a word and I said something like chaos? My word for self today is chaos. And how, like, this whole like question inside of, do we not say things like that because that's not self, or because we have a preference for what is not chaos and so we don't want to say self is also chaos? So kind of all of that going on inside. And then when Raymond was speaking, I was thinking, I think in my system, if, and this in some ways feels like I'm saying the opposite, and I think I'm still also saying the same thing. In my system, there's a wanting to identify with everything. So I am the joy, I am the sadness, I am the frustration, I am like, but all in that okayness where it all gets to be. And I think also in my system, because I feel so much of my true feelings have been silenced, that my path and way of expressing it just sounds different.
Wanting to identify everything. Need to identify with everything. Can we find that in us? Like when we hear that, you might have a part that says, no, we're supposed to do it this way. You're not supposed to identify. But just notice that part. And then like wanting to identify with everything. Can you imagine like what richer party than like identifying with everything that's humanness that's coming out in us, everything that's expressing the frustration. Like we don't like I don't want to miss a minute of this, the frustration, the sadness, the grief, the joy, the ecstasy, all of it. It, and then the crazy thing is if there's really freedom to identify with all of it, there's really, I think this is, my point is, I think it's another way to get to what Ray is pointing to. It takes us to the same place. If we identify fully, it's like, it's free. Everybody, all these parts of me can be here fully. And I'm just loving, identifying as much as my system can with each one. What's that like? Back to you, Jessica.
I don't know. I feel like everything I said, I just have a big question mark behind it. Like, this is just what's bubbling and
Gosh. How about even that word chaos? You know, what if I said chaos? When like Raymond speaking of this and Katya and Churchilla speaking of these big, blue, beautiful, blissful spaces, and I say chaos. But you can see everybody, it's like isn't there a fascination with that? With chaos. When we hear chaos, what do we find there in chaos? If we're really intimate with chaos, what's that like? Like, do we want to miss that? Like, well, it's everything but chaos. Wow, we don't want that. What about the chaos too?
I want to say something. It's interesting because I am really working with my one of my parts, and somebody said yesterday after I shared, you have to forgive yourself. And I said, oh, very easy. And then when Rai Ray said a moment ago that the part asks, "Do you love me?" That's what you said, no, Ray? Or that's what I understood. And I said, I felt this part really asking me from the inside, and I wanted to cry. I felt it in my chest that the part was saying, "Do you love me?" And my answer was right away, "Of course I love you. I have been showing you maybe I don't love you because I want to get rid of you." But I said, the first thing is to love this part that is part of me. So it was really something like that too when I heard it asking me, "Do you love me?"
Yes.
Oof.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And can we hear just that in what Jessica was saying, right? We can talk about welcoming our parts. We can talk about accepting our parts. And then there's even loving our parts. And then I want to suggest there's even going beyond that. There's this, hey, no, I don't want to stop there. I want to identify with all of them. I want to include them also intimately. What's it like for the parts in you if they were truly the sense of almost like adoring everything that arises in us? I want to identify with everything, even if it's going to feel painful and contracted and resistant. I don't want to miss anything. I want to include it all. What's that like for your parts? Do we all want to run into Jessica Square? Do you have all these parts in you that they want to just run into Jessica Square? I want I want that. Oh.
I want the chaos. Give me the chaos. I want it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if anybody has parts that are like, oh no, Ray, be quiet. Say that. That's scary. It's scary. The chaos is scary. We might have some parts that feel that way. And can we just love those? And like, yes. And then there's, the wisdom of our parts is like, I don't know. I don't want any of that chaos. It's like just to include all of it. What else? Anything else, Jessica, with this beautiful place you opened for us? Anything else bubbling in anybody else with Jessica? Anything bubbling in for anybody else with what Jessica shared?
I've got to run. Really grateful
Oh,
for all of you, for all of your
oh,
energy, and yeah, really glad that I got to stay for that and hear what Jessica shared. Just really, yeah, love the bringing and the identity and the chaos, and but yeah, love what all of us are bringing today. Thank you all.
thank you, Ray, for Ray's house today, for the gift of Ray. Thank you.
Thanks, Sid. Be well.
Who wants to go next? Where are we? Zoe, there's a bubbling there. Angie, how are you doing? Rachila, anything go? What's going on? Who wants to go next?
I want to speak to Ray's suggestion about asking the part if it loves me. I think I've been accepting of my comparison part because I'm human. I know that. Been accepting of it, but I think when he asked that, um, it just became so much clearer to me that my comparison part just wants all the things for me. It just wants me to have all the things, all of them, like the fullness of experience. And yeah, like, of course it loves me. It wants all that for me. And there's something about that that feels different, that that longing and yearning, like yeah, just appreciating that, like, that's what it wants for me.
Yes. What's it like for us to hear, as Angie shares, my comparison part? It wants it all for me. It wants the fullness of experience for me. When we hear her say that, does it just evoke love for her system? Is it just love and welcoming of her comparison part, appreciation of her comparison part? Does that come? And then as you hear this, what her comparison part wants for her, and you find a resonance in your own system. Wow, like, wow, do I have parts that want that for me too? Does that resonate inside of you? Mm.
Just from like a IFS perspective, um, what I hear in that is the potential for polarized parts to hear the love. And so for there to be ease, more ease in the system between parts. I just wanted to.
About that, polarized parts. Got a part that what, or even a comparison part, and a part that says that comparison part shouldn't be here. We'd be better off if it wasn't here. So we call polarity in IFS, like this. And I think what I'm getting from what Jessica's sharing, like if we can really hear how each of the parts are really doing their best for our best interest. I want you to have everything. I want it all for you. That it becomes the polarity just kind of loses some of its charge, something relaxes. How did I do, Jessica? Mm. What's here? What's bubbling? Where do we want to go? Who's got something for us?
Sid, I just want to share just a thought, and I think it was Rachila that said it. Something about she wanted to see the sun shine on the ocean. I think somebody said something like that. And as everyone's been talking about different things there, and that uninhibited thing. So, and like what Jessica was saying, yeah, love, real love is crazy. It's really, it doesn't have the boundaries and borders that we would normally have. And but just I had that picture of the ocean, and let's see all the parts coming up, all the waves come up, and then we have that expression, don't we, where we say sun kissed, like where the sun's been shining on us, and I just had that picture of, and that's my experience actually, is that every time a part that's came up, and same question that everybody else has said, do you love me? Am I lovable? Whatever the language is, whatever the need is, whether it's adult like or childlike, it doesn't really matter. And every time, every little wave of intention or action has appeared in me, the sun has come down and just kissed it, just went, mwah, mwah, it's lovely, mwah, 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 mwah. And it's like whack-a-mole with the sunshine. Every time something pops up, this love just like, oh, mwah, 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 gives a kiss, mwah, mwah, gives a cuddle, oh, mwah, mwah. Lots like that.
Oh, wow.
So that's the kind of sense that I get. And one last, I need to go short. I'll stay for another five, but I'll be quiet after this. The one last thing for me, Sid, is what doesn't move? So for me, what doesn't move is seeing. Seeing doesn't move. And I'll just say, and even when I looked around my room and that thought came to me, and I thought, okay, I can see everything in this room, but seeing is not moving.
Beautiful.
So I'll just say it as that. So being is seeing, just seeing.
Beautiful. Let's ask us for everybody what Raymond just shared. What doesn't move? What doesn't move? Sometimes we describe it as what's always here. In your system, what is it? In Raymond's, he's described as a seeing. This is seeing, the being is a seeing. What's always here in your system? What doesn't move? What's always here? What mm, what's unaffected, as Katya was describing, by experience, by people? It's just always here. And we haven't heard so much from Rachila and Zoe today, and I'm wondering, Rachila, is there anything? What's going on there? Sometimes Rachila goes into bliss. It's just the bliss of the sea, right? It's the bliss of that, and it's like, but maybe there's little sun kisses happening in her system. These sun kisses. What's going on there, Rachila? Oops, muted. Still muted. Oops.
There we go. Yeah, I love this, the sun kisses. I love that, Raymond. Thank you. And yeah, I was just feeling really peaceful, very peaceful. And when you were saying what's here and it never leaves, what here this never leaves is okayness. The okay.
Thank you.
And I'm looking at, like, when I had a lot of anxiety night before last, like, and the question is like, how does that love me? I'm contemplating that. Yeah.
Oh, like this is the rubber hits the road, right? This isn't some spiritual group. We're doing like anxiety when it keeps you up all night. What what does it love me? Anything else with this, Rachila?
No, just trying to figure that one out.
Yeah, thank you. I feel like for all of us, it might not be anxiety. Like, where do you find difficulties? When it's like, God, this is a really hard day. Oh my gosh, this is a rough day. Like, is it anxiety in your system? Is it like an achiever that just won't stop? Pusher? Is it a critic? And we don't need to go there, but just to be aware of, like, what is your version of what, Sheila's this sense of anxiety keeping her up at night? What's it for you? And it's like, does it love me? How is it loving me? Such a beautiful inquiry. Anything bubbling before we check on Zoe? Anything bubbling with all of this?
Sid, I'm going to shoot off just now. My son's coming up. Oh, funny, I said that like that. I mean, my actual living being son, a child son. Metaphorically, I got what I said there. My son's coming up, and I just want to thank you, Sid, and again something that Zoe said earlier as well. I want to say to you, Zoe, that really touched me. How you thanked Angie for embodying how she was feeling and the balance of that. So yeah, I'm leaving on that note. Everything was beautiful today, Sid. It really was. Everything was beautiful. So thank you. So lovely to
And
see you
and
all.
thank you, Raymond, for
Yeah,
so many gifts today that we just got to soak in from you. Thank you.
thank you guys. Take care. Bye bye.
I got some really good news for everybody. Really, but before we go there, just if you want me to shake it off again, if it helps to shake it off, it's like here we are again. Nothing needs to be understood, nothing to do. We're not going anywhere. We're just going from here to here, which is kind of a funny joke, right? Here to here. We're just here. Here we are. Not going anywhere. It doesn't feel light here to here. Here we are. It's just there it is. Just this lightness of being, just this joy of being together with the five of us, with you. And then the good news is we're going to go into Zoe land if she has anything, if she wants to share anything with us now, and she's never under pressure. But we're going to go. Like, aren't you curious? Like, what's there? Oh, look at Zoe. Like, what does she have? How is life moving in her? What's happening? What's happening, Zoe?
Hi, everybody. I was like, I had a little excited part pop up there and thinking, oh, what's Sid's good news? What's he going to share? Oh, dear. Maybe you're coming to England, I thought, Sid.
Even better than that, I
Yeah,
get to introduce Zoe.
you're in my living room, so that's enough, isn't it? All of you. Okay, what's going on for me today? Well, I met a part today that I haven't met before. It was before I came to this group, which, by the way, I've absolutely loved and adored being part of today. So rich, so deep, and so moving. So this part that I met today is called What's Wrong with Zoe? And wow, it was a really deep discovery of this part. And I hadn't seen it clearly before. And I kind of had been circling it, I guess, and circling it for a while, but I've not kind of like seen it really clearly until today. And part of how I saw it was because I've been really ill the last 10 days. And I just couldn't find okayness while I was physically ill. Symptoms in my body and what's going on. It's like, yeah, I could not. It just was so, yeah, it activated, being physically unwell, activated so many parts in me. But this part, what's wrong with Zoe? Like, this part has been around a long time, and it's had a belief that there's something inherently wrong with me. And it's quite scary to look at. It's got a absolutely huge magnifying glass against its eye. And she's got like this huge eye through this huge magnifying glass. And she's kind of spent all my life, it seems, I don't know, looking, examining everything in this intense detail to find that thing that must be wrong with me. And I guess it's really activated when I'm ill because something's physically wrong, I guess, in my body. Wrong, I don't know, that's not quite the right word, but I'm physically suffering, I guess. And yeah, there's something.
What's it like to be aware of her? What's it like to be aware of this part, Zoe? Is it scary to get close to it, to feel it, to notice this? There's something inherently wrong with me, part the one with the magnifying glass to the eye.
So when I first became aware of it, it was awe. I felt awe of how hard it's worked for how long. So there was just this upwelling of awe. I'm just in awe of this part, which has been trying to keep me safe. If it could only find that thing that was wrong, then it would know how to make everything okay for me. So I guess what happened during our hour together, it was when that question was asked, ask the part, does it love me? And I guess, in asking that question, it was like, well, the love is there's so much love in the part already, that's actually in the part already, that all that love is there. It's there. And it's not like that part is suddenly, it's like, it's not like that part is like suddenly over there and completely separate, but that it's already got all that love in it. That's why it's been doing what it's been doing for so long for me. And it's that thing about looking and actually finding that the thing that it wants for me is actually already there. And that's like, I noticed that often, in on my journey, when parts have come up, at first it can feel very scary, and I've got a kind of a distance with the part, whatever, and the distance is there with this part. But what's different today, what you guys have all helped me do, is to see that what it longs for, it already has in it, that well of really, really deep love that has sustained it, kept it doing its job for me for so long, through such difficulties, and yeah, just like really, that's just really moving. And I don't, there's just a sense I don't have to kind of do anything special to accept that part or to allow that part to be here, because it's already, it knows what it has what it's longing for already. I don't know whether any of that makes any sense.
So let's just like for everyone, what's it like this, what Zoe just shared with us? Just notice what's happening in your system. Is this are there parts that are coming up and responding? Sense of self that's welcoming and adoring what Zoe's sharing. And
I
then when
want to
she's
say, if I understand, the part asked me, if I loved the part. And on the other hand, the I I ask the part if the part loves me. So there's like two ways depending on the way which we see it.
nice. Yes. We all find that what Katya is pointing to. That. And then what Zoe found here, and I love that she kind of went after Jessica, where Jessica's talking about this intimacy with the parts just the way they are. It's, I know I want to identify with them all. And then Zoe speaking about what she finds. And for many of us, this could be like one of the scariest parts in our system, right? This something's inherently wrong with me. If I can just find it, it's just like looking around with this magnet, something's inherently wrong with me, right? That can be a really scary part. It can be hard to be with it. It can carry a lot. A lot of us can feel that parts can feel shame in reaction to that. Something's inherently wrong with me. Oh my gosh, I don't want to get close to that. The shame that's there. And that can be really, really, really scary. And then Zoe kind of leading the way for us on this. But she's leading the way for us with this. It's like with this part, got so close to it, and then she did look what she discovered. That, wait a minute, this part is already of this love. It's already there. There's nothing that needs to be done with it. In this intimacy with this part, it's what it's been longing for it already has what it wants for me. It or is already there as the part itself is of this love. If we just to feel that possibility of where Zoe is directing us and how that resonates in each of our systems. So is there anything else you'd like to help us with this, to completely follow you? It's just beautiful. This, this something inherently wrong with me by my part and what you're discovering and being with it.
I noticed the discovery was that before I had the joy of being with you guys today, I was aware of the part, and I was inviting it into my heart and saying, I see you, just come into my heart. And I noticed that I think that was a doingness, a doing part. There was like a doingness there. There was a part that was trying to do something for that part, come into my heart, and it will be okay. You'll be okay. And I appreciate that part too. And I know that, I don't know, is that a self-light part, something but I recognize, because of being with you today, I can see that there was a doing in that. And what Raymond really helped me with was, okay, doing and being. And when Katia said about which way you ask the question, if I'm asking, oh, do I love that part over there? Yeah, it kind of prompted this self-light part to want to do something. Oh, invite it into my heart. And the joy here is that there isn't anything to do. Asking the question the other way, it's like, oh, okay, it's this love is here, this being is here, this beingness is here, and there's nothing to do. That in my system, in my body, somatically, and that just feels really different, really different. And I just to go right back again, Angie, to you, and that, what that first moment when you were holding both those parts and how much it touched me, or holding the part of comparison and then the joy of being, sorry, was that, 1 minute you were crying, and yet the next minute you had this biggest smile on your face. That was it, the way in which it was being embodied. It was the crying and the smile at the same time. That's what was moving, because you were embodying it. And I guess, yeah, I can feel somatically that today, yeah, the difference between the doing our energy and the okay, just sitting and being here. That's it. Yeah.
So how about that? Sorry. How about that for all of us? What Zoe's pointing to, this discernment between the being and doing, the discernment, where Zoe said, "Wait, love is here. The beingness is here. There's nothing that needs to be done. It's already here." Right? Like from one perspective, like we can all taste that. The beingness is here, the love that's here. And then from the other perspective, can we also like celebrate and adore the part that was like, oh, I can help. Let me just invite you into my heart. Everything will be okay here. Isn't it wonderful that we have parts that are doing this, that are helping? And so we're not going like, oh, only being, we're only going to be. It just gets to be all. And we get to also see if we can find the discernment and see the discernment, just like what Zoe's so kind of exquisitely pointing out for us, is subtle discernment. Anything else, Zoe? Thumbs up. We have got 5 minutes left, and it's just, how are we doing? Anything bubbling that's wanting to be shared?
Oh, that was beautiful, Zoe. And that reminded me that there's that, when I said, I'm just trying to figure it out. It's like, oh, there's a part that's going to figure it out, and I just loved like just being with each person who shared and feeling what was going on with that person in that moment, and how that affects me, and how I'm part of that too. So, thank you. Thank you all. So beautiful.
Thank you, Richila.
I'm
Everybody doing all right? Oh, sorry, Angie. Let me just check, just make sure everybody all right. Anything coming up that's uncomfortable? We want to make sure like a soft landing for everybody today. Soft landing. Angie.
um I'm feeling a bit of awe or surprise or amazement, kind of just I mean at everything, but specifically in this moment about how Zoe articulated that, and then kind of the connection with what I was sharing. Um, that obviously that her part, she's work, it's a different part than mine, but this process of just really what when she was sharing, it gave me even more clarity about my comparison part is trying to do. I mean, it's so clearly trying to do something. It's
Yeah.
trying to help me find out, well, what does she have? How can you get that? What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? That kind of a relationship that couple seems to have. Like, what do we do? What do we do? And also the awareness of that there was something here that I was tapping into that I already have, that fullness of experience that my comparison part wants for me so badly. So it was that experience of like, oh, what if it's already here? What if it's already here? This experience that
Yes.
my comparison part wants.
Yes.
So,
But I want to suggest that that just opens organically with us, what Zoe's pointing to, this already here, as I think all of us have fallen in love with your comparison part, Angie. Like really, as we all welcome, as we get intimate with it, as we adore it, then it just starts shining through, and there's nothing that needs to, I just wanted to, it's just, I don't know, just in this game and the play of our life and the welcoming and loving what's here, and just that it's just get as we adore your part. I'm not being clear right now. Maybe Jessica probably do it better. What you got, Jessica?
I, no, I can't do it better. I I just wanted to say thank you to Zoe because I have a what's wrong with me part, and and probably multiple parts in my system had come to the conclusion that what's wrong with me is that I exist, because that was the only thing that made sense. And when you were speaking, Zoe, I had this realization that that part is a reaction to something, a message that my part believed that there was something to look for. So,
As we hear Jessica share this, that she has a part that is like, what's wrong with me is that I exist. Does it just is it just like overflowing love that comes up towards Jessica and that part of her, the sense of being held, like she's not by herself in this. She's it's just this love, this ocean of love, this infinite hot tub of our being. Notice what it evokes, the love that it evokes in you when you hear that, and the innocence of it, the innocence of that sweet part in Jessica. We all know it. We have our versions of it. We've been hearing about Zoe's version of it. We all have this. We all have our versions of it, and just the sweetness of it. It's just this young part that came to those conclusions that, it's just, can we, as we welcome and adore Jessica and adore that part in her. And it is 11, we're at the hour and a half. And was there anything else bubbling real quick as we close today? No, just thank you. Wow, how wonderful. Such a treat to be with you today. Thank you everybody for co-creating this celebration. See you later.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you.